Story 1. Stealing my friend's Tamagotchi in 4th grade. Sounds like a joke, but as a full-fledged adult, I still feel so guilty to this day. I never stole anything in my life after that. Story 2. Smoking when I was young and ignorant. Now I'm paying the full price with my health, unfortunately. I have quite the wealth, but even a ton of money cannot cure me. Story 3. Being angry with my middle son. I said some not-so-nice things in my anger. He passed not long after that, so there is no way to let him know that even if I was angry at him, I did not mean the things I said, and to tell him I could be angry and still love him. Story 4. When I turned 18, my father spoke about how he couldn't wait to take me to a pub and share a beer. I said we'd get around to it, but life got busy. I was studying at university, going clubbing with my friends, and playing plenty of sports. Every so often, Dad would bring it up, and I'd say, "No worries, we'll do it soon," and then get busy with life again. Then, when I was 20, he suddenly passed away without warning. This threw me into a bit of turmoil. The shock was so much that I didn't really process much. 6 months later, I was at a pub for a friend's birthday, and his dad was there, sharing in the good times with his son. Then it hit me hard. We never did share that beer. I still feel a small amount of sorrow about it. Overall, our relationship was great. He was an excellent father, and we shared many great memories. But not having that beer with him will be a lost moment for the rest of my life. Story 5. Giving too much of myself to people who did not appreciate or want it. The internalized shame I have been carrying around made me feel not good enough, so that I go above and beyond for everyone around me. With therapy, I am learning to unlearn so much falsehood I have been convinced of by others, that I am unworthy unless I earn their love and approval. I regret the many years I have spent this way, but now I am ready to fight it all and take care of myself. Story 6. The way I reacted when my dog was put down. I was wailing instead of being calm in her final moments. I think it would have been better for her if I had been calm and then broken down after she passed. Story 7. When we were in school, I wouldn't let my little sister walk home with me and my friends. I made her walk behind us. She had a rough time in school, and it would have meant the world to her to walk with us. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life. She's popular and successful, and my best friend in the world now, but I'll never forgive myself. Mom brings it up as a funny story fairly regularly. I hate it. Story 8. Applying to naturopathic medical school and wasting 2 years of my life studying that career. I thought I was in medical school. How foolish I was for not doing enough research before stepping into that. Story 9. I hadn't talked to my old best friend Mike in several years. I heard he had cancer. I was going to call, I'll call him soon. I'll call tomorrow. And then he died. I never called. I'll regret it forever. Make that phone call and tell them you love them. Story 10. Having children with the wrong person. I love my children, but it does truly sometimes feel like an 18-year sentence without the possibility of parole. Story 11. Not understanding when the woman I was dating was totally smitten with me would have made a great mother, and we could have been enjoying our retirement years together. But now, she's doing that with another awesome guy she met later on. Story 12. Deciding to stop being a junkie too late. That ruined my whole life. No longer with my twins' mom or my boys. 3 years later, and that separation from them still hits me out of the blue once in a while. Story 13. I tried to kill myself. I was in an abusive relationship. I stabbed myself in the arm. Why? I don't know, but I did. It wasn't rational. I narrowly missed the artery and cut through 80% of my ulnar nerve instead. Nearly 20 years later, I am still partially paralyzed in my left hand. Video games can be difficult. I had to stop playing bass. My hand cramps up in cold weather and forces my fingers to pop out of joint. It was a bad choice that came from a bad situation. Nothing I can do to change it now, but I do regret it. Story 14. Not telling someone about my brother being a disgusting sexual creep and never fighting back against him. I went along with whatever he wanted every single time, and it lasted for many years. Among other problems, I've rarely, if ever, felt truly empowered as a human being. People can easily sense it too, because my confidence is not genuine at all. Story 15. I used to go fishing with my dad when I was younger, probably from age 8 to 13, when we had a caravan on a site near a reservoir. We would go often, so everyone knew each other really well in a nice, friendly way. I was a shy, nerdy ginger kid and was starting to get interested in girls, but never got any attention beyond being friends. I remember telling someone I had a crush on that my dad used to take me fishing so he could pay for both of us out of my pocket money, and I had no choice. It was a poor attempt at gaining some female attention by making up a story that my dad was not very nice. I might be paranoid, but I think she told her dad, which got back to my dad, as he slowly stopped taking me fishing and became more distant. He was always unemotional, stoic, and a typical old-school dad figure who always tried his best. I know how hard he worked to give me the best childhood he could. To be honest, I am a twin and think he struggled to cope with being a dad to two young kids. To this day, probably about 25 years later, I still wonder why I made up such a stupid story. Even though I was a kid, I still feel ashamed. Nothing was ever said between us about it, but I always wonder if that was the reason we drifted apart a little bit. As a dad myself now, I know how hurtful something like that would be. Story 16. Not continuing piano lessons, not taking the many chances I was given with an amazing woman, not being disciplined with money, or disciplined in general, treating ex-girlfriends better before we became exes, the list goes on. Story 17. A lot of people like to take the high road, but I regret not taking the low road sometimes. There are people I don't see much anymore that I wish I had told them to leave me alone at the time we were fighting. Story 18. Had a hard drive with 20 years of photos on it. Had an online backup service. Did not check the backup with this specific drive. Did check some other drives. Drive failed. Backup did not work. Restore service could not fix the drive. I think about it every few days and grit my teeth. Story 19. Continuing to be friends with people who were actively stabbing me in the back. I could have hung around people who actually liked me instead of trying to be friends with people who didn't. Story 20. Not taking care of my teeth. To my past self. Yes, maybe those dentists were onto something when they told you to brush your teeth before going to bed. Story 21. I stole someone's package that was on the doorstep of their apartment at an apartment complex in Las Vegas in 1992. The package contained a harmonica. I have always felt bad about that. 1 year later, at another apartment complex, the neighbors one door over, literally 15 feet away, set out a whole 55-gallon trash can full of candy on Halloween, and I dragged the whole thing into my apartment and kept it all for myself. I don't understand why I did these things. I'm sorry for what I did. I will find a way to give back. Story 22. Intellectually, I know that I did what anyone would have done in the situation and that I have no clue if it would have even made a difference. But I'll always regret not picking up on the signs that my late husband was sick earlier. Story 23. Cheating. I don't even know why I did it, but there is no amount of excuses that can ever make something like this right. There is not a day that goes by where I don't think about what a terrible excuse for a human being I am for causing this much hurt. The only thing that makes me feel a little better is that my conscience is punishing me for it, and hopefully for the rest of my life. Story 24. Going skiing on December 22nd, 2024, at Belly Eyre in upstate New York. I was on my second run of the day when some out-of-control skier hit me from behind, tearing my anterior cruciate ligament and medial collateral ligament, and then he fled the scene. I've been stuck in a deep depression and don't know when I'll get out of this. And if the person that did this to me is somehow seeing this, I hope karma gets you. Story 25. Going home with my mom instead of spending the night at my dad's house the weekend he died. He was sick, and if I had known the degree to which he was sick, I would have made him go to the hospital. He played it down. I was supposed to sleep over with him but changed plans and ended up road tripping back home with my mom and sister after Christmas. I have made peace with it for the most part, but I think I'll always regret that decision. Story 26. I have bipolar disorder, and all the things I did while manic will always be my biggest regret. Even though technically I wasn't in control, I can still regret them. Story 27. Befriending my old best friend. He was the gay, male counterpart of me, both fat queer goths. We did everything together. I noticed his mental health taking a nosedive in 2022 and worried about him so much I was terrified of him committing suicide. He ended his relationship suddenly, was giving away money and things from his flat, and it was all just very worrying. Then, without any warning, someone I barely knew from high school, where I met my friend, asked me if I knew what was happening with him. I said no and that I had just been with him to celebrate my birthday. She then sent me a link to an article about a child predator being arrested, and it was him. It turns out he had been arrested in 2020, around the time his family made him homeless, and I let him stay with me until he found somewhere, and was finally being sentenced. He ended up getting away without any prison time, just placed on the sex offenders register. I will never forgive him, and I hope he has a terrible life. Story 28. Not texting my dad the day before Father's Day. He died that night, so he never got to read my message in the morning. We had just recently reconciled, so I feel like he didn't know how I felt, and I really needed him to read that message. I go back and look at it sometimes, and seeing it marked as unread is devastating. Story 29. Saving my virginity for someone who didn't also do the same. Sometimes I really don't know if I just regret being celibate when I was younger or if I regret giving it to someone who wasn't, but either way, regret. Story 30. Being so boy crazy when I was young and trying so hard to be in a relationship, then forcing so many relationships once I was in them because I thought I needed to meet my husband in high school like my parents did, or in college like everyone else did. Instead, I just lived my life, was confident, and did what made me happy. Story 31. Treating my first relationship the way I did. She was beautiful, leagues ahead of me. I am not quite sure how I attracted her. I just did not treat her right, and we broke up after 3 months. I still run into her every few years or so, and I always wonder what if. Time to cue up Marvin's Room and sit in my room. Story 32. Goodness, it's either all regret or none for me, thanks. Looking at these comments, I was nodding my head along with most things. Picked the wrong job, moved to the wrong place, married the wrong person, picked the wrong house. But we are here, so I guess I'm going to be a dandelion and bloom regardless of my life being a series of one mistake after another. Or none of them were mistakes and just the path I chose to get to this spot, which may be fate and exactly where I'm supposed to be. I prefer that mentality. But to isolate one for you that probably started this, let's go back all the way to when I was 12 and my friends showed me the choking game. Yeah, that was the first really dumb thing I ever did. Story 33. Not fighting other guys when I should have. Not giving up pornography when I knew I should have. Not removing fake friends from my life. Not obtaining skills or building a business in my 20s. Not using my musical talent, thus missing out on creating with my own brother. There is more I could say, but I would rather not laugh. Story 34. Falling out with my grandfather weeks before he was hospitalized. By the time he was in the hospital, he was so confused due to a really bad case of delirium caused by an infection he was too far gone. He would do nothing but yell mine and my mother's names over and over but didn't seem to know we were even there with him. He didn't last too long, and I hate that in the weeks leading up to his hospitalization, I didn't go and visit him at home because I was tired of hearing comments about my weight. I shouldn't have been so sensitive, but it hurts when you want to visit someone you care about and the whole time they pick at you. But I shouldn't have stopped visiting a 90-year-old man, expecting I could just wait until I was less upset with his comments. I spent every day in that hospital with him, along with my mother, but it was just too late, and we knew deep down he wasn't going home. I legally changed my name after it all as well, as I can't stand to hear it anymore when all I could think about was the way he cried it over and over. I was very lucky to have my grandparents in my life for as long as I did, but I will forever carry guilt that I didn't do enough for him towards the end. Story 35. Letting people be mean to me. I used to get bullied a lot. At some point, I became really confident and suddenly never got bullied again. I wish I had known that changing how I felt about myself and carried myself would have shut that down a long time ago. I remember the first time I went to a job, and a girl came up to me and said, "You seem like someone who doesn't take any nonsense." The past me, who got bullied at every job, did a happy dance inside as I laughed and nodded. Prior to that, every single job I got nonstop bullying. Story 36. Not spending enough time with loved ones who have passed away. My great-grandpa was born in 1917. He witnessed the most revolutionary times in my country, Iceland. He worked for the British when they invaded Iceland, saw our country transform from living in turf houses to becoming one of the richest nations in the world at that time. He died in 2006, witnessing the impressive leaps humankind achieved in a matter of a century. I have thousands of these examples, but it bites me to this day not sitting down and listening to the stories of these people. They all had stories, experiences, and wisdom that is forever gone. Story 37. Letting my wife give her parents Christmas morning every year to keep her happy. Now my kids are growing up, and I don't think I'll ever have that Christmas morning magic of my own. Story 38. Giving someone the opportunity to be a renter in my house, under very fair conditions, turned out to be a terrible decision. She ended up being extremely difficult to deal with. It was horrible. I never knew what anxiety meant until that time,